My brother James posted a picture of a beautiful woman in the group. He tagged everyone. James, brothers, this girl is hot. Everyone in the group was excited. James, you picked up another girl. She ate well, and this girl looks sexy. He followed it with a few images with crooked smiles, the meaning of which is self-evident. James, of course, that figure is amazing, and she is married. Let's play together then. Then James tagged me alone. I saw the message, and the two of them had already started to talk dirty. Looking at what James tagged me, I couldn't help but frown. James, John, take a look. Do you think she is more attractive or your wife is more attractive? I slowly typed a question mark. Then I kicked him out of the group chat. With James' previous cowardly look, he would never tease me like this. After all, they all know that I am a wife-protecting maniac, and I will never allow others to joke about my wife like this. John, don't argue with James, he must be drunk. I ignored his message and put my phone on the table. The more I thought about it, the more wrong it seemed. I clicked on the picture for some reason. The back of the woman in the picture is indeed a beauty, and her graceful body is very attractive. But the more I looked, the more shocked I became. At the end of the video, the tattoo on the woman's waist was exactly the same as the one on my wife. I couldn't believe that there was such a coincidence in the world. After all, the tattoo on my wife's body was designed by someone I asked, and it is unique. I clicked on my wife's chat history. She hasn't replied to the message I sent her this morning. I wanted to confirm that things were definitely not what I thought. Then I made a call. The phone rang for a long time, and was picked up by someone when I hung up. Aha, husband. My body was numb when my wife called me. And then something was wrong. I quickly said, wife, what are you doing? The phone was hung up, and I felt cold in my heart. Could it be that my wife really cheated on me? As soon as I thought of this, my wife called me via video. I picked up the call with a happy face. In the video, my wife was sweating profusely while doing yoga. Maybe she was too tired and her face was full of a natural blush. She was panting while speaking. If it wasn't for the video call to confirm it, I would really think that my wife cheated on me. Husband, I'm doing yoga, and I didn't receive any messages on my phone. What do you want to talk to me about? I looked at the video and shook my head. It's okay, I just miss you. My wife held the phone in her hand close to her body. My wife changed her yoga poses and her panting became heavier. Husband, I miss you too. I'm a little tired. I'm going to take a shower and hang up first. As soon as the voice fell, the moment the phone was hung up, a half-naked man flashed in the video. I was still worried when I thought of the news in the group in the morning. I put down the work at hand and drove to the community. The palms of my hands holding the steering wheel were soaked with sweat. The elevator opened, and I took out the key to open the door. Seeing the bedroom door closed, I couldn't help swallowing. I opened the door, and my wife lying on the bed was startled. Husband, why are you back? Isn't it time to go to work now? I listened to her talking, and always felt that she was hiding something from me. In my opinion, this is how she looks guilty. Get up. I pulled back the quilt and searched the room. John, what's wrong with you? Daisy half knelt on the bed, and rolled her eyes at me. This posture looked more and more similar. I pulled her over, and pressed her on the bed, and lifted her shirt, revealing the tattoo. Take out the phone to compare. Except for the clothes, other places can be said to be exactly the same. John, are you sick? You hurt me. The glaring red mark on the waist, my eyes were burning with anger. Daisy, which adulterer did this? I wanted to tear off her clothes to see what was going on. She resisted and slapped me with her hands. John, what nonsense are you talking about? Where did the adulterer come from? I tore off her clothes and stripped her naked. But except for the mark on her waist, everything else was white. My wife covered her face and cried bitterly, sobbing and saying, divorce, I want to divorce you. I panicked when I heard this. Thinking of what I had just done, I wanted to slap myself twice. I took the quilt and wrapped my wife up. Wife, I was wrong. I was a bastard. My wife showed her head, her nose was red from crying, so pitiful. She took my phone and watched the video on it. A moment of daze flashed across her face. Then she looked at me with disappointment. No wonder you are so abnormal today. It turns out it's because of this. Why do you think I'm cheating on you at home and making you a cuckold? I apologized quickly, but was still driven out. When I was smoking depressedly on the balcony, I found a hidden car parked not far downstairs. It looked very familiar. Why is James' car here? I went out of the balcony to ask my wife. But the bedroom was already empty. When I closed the door, I caught a glimpse of a furry ball in the gap of the cabinet. I walked over and took the things out. I was shocked as soon as I saw it clearly. My hands began to tremble as I held the things. This outfit was exactly the same as the one James wore in the photo. Even the details were so similar. My head was buzzing. My wife cheated on me. Or was she having an affair with her brother? I shook my head and forced myself to wake up. I ran to the balcony and happened to see my wife in a hip skirt getting into the car. I changed my clothes and prepared to wait for the rabbit. I opened my phone and James was invited in again. He apologized to me in the group. John, I don't know who I am after drinking some horse urine. I shouldn't have made fun of my sister-in-law. You are a big shot who doesn't remember the mistakes of a villain. You will definitely not care about the nonsense, I said. I didn't want to see him apologize. Did you go drinking again? But there was no response for a long time. After a while, there was news in the group chat. James sent another picture. John, we are going to leave and meet another day. I clicked on the photo, and it was still a picture of a woman's back. After zooming in, it was still the conspicuous tattoo. Even the details were so similar. My head was buzzing. My wife cheated on me. Or was she with her brother? I shook my head and forced myself to be sober. I ran to the balcony and happened to see my wife in a hip skirt getting on the car. I changed my clothes and prepared to wait and see. I opened my phone and James was invited in again. He apologized to me in the group. John, I drank some horse urine and don't know who I am. I shouldn't make fun of my sister-in-law. You are a big man who doesn't remember the mistakes of a villain. The Prime Minister can hold a boat in his stomach. You will definitely not care about the nonsense, I said. I didn't have the heart to watch him apologize. Did you go drinking again? But there was no response for a long time. After a while, there was news in the group chat. James sent another picture. John, we are going to leave, and we will meet again some other day. I clicked on the photo, and it was still a back view. After zooming in, although she changed her clothes, the conspicuous tattoo slapped me in the face. I have been sitting on the flower bed for 2 hours, but I still can't see my wife. Even though I already know the truth of the matter in my heart. There are countless cigarette butts on the ground, and I am surrounded by smoke. Only by smoking continuously can I numb myself. It was the second half of the night. The car drove in and stopped not far away. I hit my legs that were numb from sitting. Just when I was about to stand up and go forward. I saw the car door open. My wife covered her mouth and smiled softly, bending down to get out of the car. A pair of hands wrapped around her waist, causing my wife to beg for mercy. Brother, good brother, let me go. I am too tired today. I was stunned for a moment when I heard this. My wife has never said such tempting words to me. From my angle, my wife kissed her in the seat. The two kissed each other. It's great. When I think of John, that idiot, working hard for his job, while I'm hugging his wife, it feels so good. The man lifted Dace's chin. Is it exciting? I'll give you something more exciting tonight. Suddenly, my wife's sweet laughter came from the car. Hate it. I don't like it. I feel sick when I call him husband every day. I can only think of you when I sleep so that I don't resist. I'm so tired of enduring it. When will it end? It took me a long time to recover after hearing my wife's words. I didn't expect such words to come out of my wife's mouth. But she was the one who proposed to me. Be good. Wait a while. Wait for me to take over the company, send him to jail, and let you divorce legally. Daisy got out of the car, put her clothes in order, and threw a coquettish eye into the car. Wait for you tonight. I left first. I got home first, and Daisy arrived right after me. She was still wearing the red hip skirt, but there was obvious white burns on her stockings. She changed her shoes, raised her head and smiled at me. Honey, you're back. I looked at her face and unconsciously looked at her legs. Honey, your stockings are dirty. Her smile froze, her voice was a little helpless, and she checked everywhere. Oh. Is it, honey? After she said that, she hurriedly covered the dirty part of the stockings. I saw that she was in neutral. I didn't wear it or lost it, I didn't need to think about it. I went shopping in the afternoon. Maybe the ice cream I ate melted and got dirty. She rolled up the socks and threw them into the trash can. She turned around and brought a glass of water from the kitchen. Honey, I see that you have been so busy recently, that you have dark circles under your eyes. You must not have slept well. I saw on the internet that a glass of warm water, before going to bed helps you sleep. She handed the water to me and stood behind me to massage my shoulders. She didn't forget to urge me to drink it. Thinking of hearing their conversation downstairs, I knew it clearly when I saw this glass of water. Wife, you are so good to me. I drank it in front of her. She went into the bedroom with satisfaction. I felt dizzy and fell asleep while lying on the bed. My wife kicked my back and saw that I didn't respond. Open the closet. I squinted and saw that a door of the closet was opened. A man came out. It was just as I expected. They were together. But what surprised me was that there was a secret passage in the closet. I don't know how many secrets they have hidden from me. Watching Daisy climb on James and hang on him like a koala. James grabbed her hand. Are you sure? He is asleep? Daisy pushed me to the ground to prove that I was asleep. Don't worry, he is sleeping soundly. The bed next to me collapsed. Two people were on the bed. Clothes fell on my face. The room was full of spring. Instantly, my anger went straight to my head. My wife was actually with my brother. I pinched my thighs tightly and told myself to be patient. My mouth was filled with blood. But even a few minutes seemed long to me. James turned on the bedside lamp and lit a cigarette. Daisy lay on him with a satisfied look on her face. When are you going to start? Have you found anything? We got the fingerprints, but not the documents. I pricked up my ears when I heard this, and even the pain was numb. You can cheat me emotionally, but you can't cheat me of my money. It sounds like their plan is to pay attention to my company. But what do they mean by the documents? Are you sure that the document really exists? I was confused when I heard James speak. Of course, I heard it with my own ears. Before the old man died, he said that he would inherit the company in 3 years, and there would be a large amount of property. I was puzzled when I heard Daisy say that. How did she know? 3 years ago, I was an invisible rich second generation, but I wanted to work on my own and join the company. I started as a clerk and met Daisy and fell in love with her at first sight. Later, for some reason, she, who had always disliked me, unexpectedly proposed to me. After our flash marriage, she treated me even better and tenderly. Now I know that she heard all the words the old man said to me when he died of illness. Later, I met James in the workplace. We called each other brothers and walked hand in hand to this day. I was calculated by them, like a fool from beginning to end. That's great. When the time comes, we will discredit him. If he commits a crime, I'm afraid that even if the shareholders are optimistic about him, they will not support him and let him go home with nothing. At that time, the country and the beauty will be mine. James lifted Daisy's chin and said with a hooked lip. Daisy echoed, Evergrande Company will not protect a scum who gambles and prostitutes. The two looked at each other and laughed. This is imperative. A light bulb suddenly lit up in my head. In a week, it would be time for me to fulfill the contract. If they succeeded, my life would be over. I hid my hatred and made myself breathe steadily. After the two of them were intimate, Daisy threw the quilt on me and glanced at me with disdain. If it weren't for your wealth, I wouldn't have gone to such great lengths to do it to you. Thinking back to the time when I proposed to you, it felt like a delay in my life. She turned her back to me, took out a bottle of cosmetics, opened her belly and carefully applied it, still muttering. The day John fell is the day we reunited with our dad. Baby is waiting. I didn't even know that Daisy was pregnant with James' child. Listening to her words, I couldn't help but sneer in my heart. Let me fall to help you adulterers and whores. Ha ha, wishful thinking. I won't let this evil child be born. I got up from the floor when I heard the door close. Looking at their ridiculous bed, and the pungent smell it instantly made me feel even more nauseous. I slept on the floor for a night. When I woke up the next day, Daisy played the role of a gentle and virtuous wife as usual. Honey, wake up and have breakfast. I looked at her and she was so gentle and bright that I was attracted to her. And these are all bubbles and phantoms, weapons that hurt me. I suppressed my emotions. It was not time yet, and I couldn't tear my face apart. I rubbed my shoulders. Wife, it's strange. Why did I lie on the floor when I woke up today? No wonder my back hurts. Daisy said uncomfortably. Is that the case? You were still in bed when I woke up to make breakfast. So, I thought you kicked me to the ground. I picked up the bread and took a bite. It was choking and not delicious. Not as delicious as my fried dough sticks and eggs. But eggs were forbidden to be eaten at home. Because she thought eggs were smelly, eggs were the representative of rural people, and she couldn't lower herself to the status of city people. Now that I think about it, I can agree with what he said. I am also a talented person. I got up and picked up my coat. You eat first, I'm going to work. She looked at my untouched breakfast without saying anything. She just picked up my slippers at the door and gave me a good morning kiss as usual. She was like completing a task. Just because I was happy, I would meet all her requirements. Honey, I've seen a sports car. She happily took my arm, looking forward to it. I looked at her apologetically. Wife, the company has had problems recently and has lost several businesses. All the funds I have are used to fill the holes. Her face changed and she let go of my hand. What? Why didn't you tell me earlier? James, don't you know about your brother? I lowered my head dejectedly and sighed. It happened suddenly. I thought it was just a small loophole and didn't want to worry you. I didn't expect it to get worse and worse. After hearing this, Dace's face suddenly changed. What's wrong with you? This company was fine before. How come such a big problem happened when you took over? You are such a loser. You can't do anything well. Can you learn from James? She looked at me with disgust, stuffed the tie into my hand, and turned away. I put away that expression, went downstairs and drove to the company. Now that I told Daisy about the deficit, James will definitely get the news immediately. I contacted someone to make a fake account and put it in a locked table. But a moment later, James came in a suit in a hurry. I was dazzled by the brooch on his chest. Even the brooch is a couple style, and now he is not shy in front of me. What happened? Why are you so anxious? He stopped walking instantly and smiled awkwardly. Nothing. I just came to see John. Is he still angry with me? Walked behind me and pinched my shoulders like a sycophant. I'm here to apologize. Tell your sister-in-law tonight that you won't be back home. I'll take you to have an exciting time. I guarantee you'll like it. Thinking of what he and Daisy had conspired in bed, there must be something fishy about it. But I didn't expect them to act so quickly. James shook me, and I recovered and agreed. Okay, I'm a little tired recently. Let's relax. Okay, see you tonight. He got up and left, bumped into the table and spilled water on himself. It hit his lower body. Oh, John, sorry, go change quickly. There's a meeting later. I followed his wishes and went to the lounge to change pants. I deliberately delayed a little time so that he could find the fake account. Sure enough, I saw him sitting on my office chair in the surveillance camera, searching for it, and finally pounded the table in frustration and left. I watched and laughed. The prey often appears in the way of hunters. After work, James was waiting for me at the door. I bent down and sat in the back seat. His face darkened. Immediately. He hesitated for a few minutes and didn't start. He drove at my urging. I sneered in my heart. I just treat you as a driver. When we arrived at the place, he got out of the car and slammed the door to vent his dissatisfaction. This is a bar with dim lights and a lot of people. It is indeed a good place to start. I must be very energetic. When we arrived at the box, James asked the waiter to bring the most expensive wine and a bartender. John, I paid a lot of money to invite this bartender. His wine is simply a fairy product. I sat on the sofa, leaned back, and took the cup handed over by James. I took a sip and nodded and praised. Not bad, very delicious. James, that's good. After speaking, he clapped his hands, and many women came into the box. They automatically stood in 2 rows. James ordered a few people, and the others left. A girl with a young face flirted with me next to me, and something seemed to touch me under the table. I pushed her away. You are not my type. I turned around and called another charming woman. I saw her fiddling with the wine glass from the corner of my eye. She was already leaning forward, and then she held the glass of wine to my lips. Then the boss, drink. I took the drink from her hand and looked at the technology in front of her. It's a little hard, remember to take care of it. The woman's face turned red and white. After a few glasses of wine, I shook my head and felt hot all over. I waved to James. I feel a little dizzy. You guys play. After that, I fell on the table. The music in the box became louder, and the whole room was restless. Seeing me faint, they began to get bolder. The women began to dance around James' position. Soon the box became a nest of snakes and rats. The cheers of men and women resounded throughout the box. James hugged left and right with a satisfied look on his face. I was still shocked after seeing clearly in the dim light. James was actually gathering a crowd. He walked over to me and locked me up and took a few indecent photos of me. James patted my face with his hand. John, I don't believe you can survive with these. He laughed. Oh, don't forget this. He took out a needle and tried to inject it into my arm. A waiter ran in a panic. The police are here. Hurry up. For a while, the box was in chaos. Take him with you. He can still be useful to me. Watching James' orderly evacuation, I could see that he did this more than once. At the other end of the passage was a homestay. I knew James was not in a good mood, but I didn't expect him to be in such a situation. Lying on the bed, James talked to a female voice. I could tell it was Daisy. James sent the photo to her and released it on the day of the board meeting. Then he took the opportunity to file for divorce and threw dirty water on me. In this way, I would not only lose my reputation, but also go to the police. I held the miniature camera on my chest tightly. Fortunately, I kept a backup plan. There is still one day left for the board meeting, and Daisy, who had disappeared for a long time, is back. A week ago, Daisy had a quarrel with me and went back to her parents' home. Her parents called me and said that I didn't know what was good for me and didn't cherish such a good wife. If their daughter hadn't insisted on marrying me, they would never let me get away with it. They still disliked me as always. I didn't say anything, hung up the phone, and blocked the number. When I saw Daisy again, her belly was bulging. He finally stopped pretending when he saw my surprised expression. John, hold your chin, I have good news for you. I'm pregnant. Then he looked at my face and laughed evilly. But it's not yours. I took a step back, covered my heart, and asked with a smile, Wife, are you joking? Did I make you angry again? Are you lying to me? The hand behind her turned on the recording device. Knowing Daisy well, she would definitely tell everything in a while. Sure enough, she took out the ultrasound report the next second. The time above was 2 months ago. Think carefully about what you were doing at that time. I acted as she said. 2 months ago, I was indeed away from home for a week. You are so shameless. I am so good to you. Why do you hurt me like this? Who is the adulterer? I will kill him now. My eyes showed a fierce light. She raised her chin proudly. James, your closest brother. He not only slept with your wife, but will also inherit your company soon. Ha ha ha. When she said this, she was in high spirits and her eyes were shining. No matter how good you are to me, if it weren't for your identity, or because you are a coward, I would not look at you at all. You are not even qualified to lick me. I advise you to be sensible. The board of directors will abstain from voting and leave. We will divorce. You will leave the house with nothing and we will give you a way out. After that, she twisted her waist and entered the company. Back to the office, James hugged my wife and sat on my office chair. Seeing me, he was not shy at all. Who will win and who will lose will be decided later. I looked coldly and turned away. I went to the meeting room. All the big shots sitting inside were there. I nodded and greeted them one by one. On the contrary, James came in and sat in his seat arrogantly. Let's start quickly. I can't wait. I won by a majority of votes, just after the results were announced. Someone broke in. John, you bastard. Are you still a man? You went out to find a prostitute when your wife was pregnant. You have no shame. A teacup was thrown at me. I didn't have time to dodge, and it hit my forehead, and blood slid down my cheek. Where are the security guards? How can they break into such a big meeting? Come and kick them out. James said slowly. Wait, this person looks familiar. John, isn't this your mother-in-law? James, don't bump into people, kick John out and go back, and you may be alone in an empty room. I wiped the blood flowing in my eyes. You have to provide evidence when you speak, otherwise I can sue you for defamation, and in serious cases you will be sent to the police station. I have evidence. Daisy came in with tears on her face. Her eyes were swollen like walnuts, and she threw a stack of photos of me unconscious in bed on my face. John, you are a heartless man. I want to divorce you. I thought you were honest, but I didn't expect you to be the same as other men. I was pregnant and you went out to mess with other women. Do you care about me? After saying this, many people looked at me with contempt. Daisy, you will pay the price for saying such things. Don't talk to me. I find it dirty. She covered her face and cried on her mother's shoulder. We can divorce, but you have to leave the house with nothing. I said slowly. John, you are too much. You can't control your lower body and make mistakes. Why do you want me to pay for it? Don't blame me if she looks at me fiercely. The next second she took out her cell phone and called the police. I want to call the police. John from Evergrande Group not only solicits prostitution, but also gathers people to take drugs. I knocked his phone away and said coldly, Daisy, you've gone too far. She screamed, and the voice on the other side became anxious. Madam, protect yourself, we'll be there soon. I turned around to explain to everyone, but everyone subconsciously retreated. James even stood up. John, I don't want to hide it from everyone. When we went to drink that day, John did call a few girls and asked me to play something exciting. I was too scared and refused. James looked at me with disappointment. If that's the case, then the position of Evergrande chairman will have to be chosen by someone else. James, no need to choose someone else, just me. I sneered. Don't worry, whether I have done anything dirty or not, we will wait for the police to come and see. I sat down calmly and waited for the police to come. They came very quickly, and they didn't dare to neglect it when they heard that someone was gathering. The door was open. Daisy pointed at me. Comrade police, that's him. But the police were just following orders to arrest people. After understanding the situation, he took out his equipment. Open your eyes. A few seconds later, the police explained, there's nothing wrong with this young man's body. Daisy snorted coldly. Do you think I believe you? We have photos. Who are you trying to fool with your broken thing? Madam, this is a warning. Our equipment has an accuracy rate of up to 98%. We will also conduct hair, saliva and urine identification in the future. Sir, please come with us. Comrade police, I didn't gather a crowd, but I reported James. Then I took out my phone. Play the video inside. In the picture, James and a group of women were crazy. Afterwards, he took out something. Not only that, he also wanted to inject me. James was panicked for a moment after seeing it. Comrade police, his video is fake, synthesized, and it frames me. The police waved his hand. You don't need to explain to me, just use the instrument to test it simply. A mechanical voice sounded. Pupil iris has physiological lesions, containing 70% of the dose. The police tied James' hands behind his back. After hearing this, take him away. Afterwards, several of us were taken to the interrogation room. James' body was found to be infected, and he was also carrying a large amount of drugs. The lawyer told me that he was sentenced to 4 years and 3 months in prison. After leaving the interrogation room, Daisy was waiting outside anxiously. When she saw me, she was surprised. Where's Brother James? Why did you come out and Brother James didn't come out? From this posture, Daisy didn't know that James would stay in the police station. I stayed away from her touch and didn't answer her question. Hurry up and divorce, you slut. Half a month later, Daisy's belly was bigger. She and her parents found me. His father blocked my way. John, take your wife and your children away quickly. There is no reason to return our daughters after they are married. I raised my eyebrows after hearing this. It seems that they don't know the story of Daisy and James. Daisy came forward and took my hand and wanted to kneel down. Hubby, I was wrong. I shouldn't have slandered you at that time. Please forgive me. I still have your child in my belly. Let's live a good life. I shook her hand away and sneered. Daisy, didn't you say that the father of this child is James? Why do you say it's mine now? She was pale. That was all I said in anger. Her father took my hand and Daisy's hand and put it together. Young couples always have quarrels, and they will pass it by coaxing each other in bed. I avoided her hand and said coldly, former father-in-law, you don't know what dirty things your daughter has done. She has been hanging out with my brother behind my back, and the bastard in her belly is also his child, and has nothing to do with me. I am here to divorce her, Daisy, and leave the house with nothing. If you don't sign, I will sue. Afraid that he still didn't believe it, I put the evidence in front of him one by one, including recordings, videos, and the child's ultrasound report. The man in front of me heard the news. His eyes almost popped out. His face was black and blue with anger. You rebellious girl. How can there be a bastard like you in our family? Dad is not right. Don't listen to his nonsense. Still quibbling, they have already produced the evidence, and they are just short of showing me the video of you two having sex. How can you be so cheap? Daisy blocked his way and wanted to say something, but was interrupted by 2 slaps. Get over here and sign the divorce. Daisy's father grabbed her hair and forced her to sign. Daisy stared at me with vicious eyes. Are you satisfied? Are you happy that you have hurt me like this? You and James are like brothers. Why can't you treat the child in my belly as your own? You love me so much. Why do you care about this? I looked at her with the divorce agreement and spat out 2 words. Idiot. What a joke. How can I, the chairman of Evergrande, raise another man's child? 2 years later, inspecting the factory in a dilapidated shed, there was a sound of things falling and a woman crying. The woman ran out of the tent after being beaten. When she saw me, she crawled over and hugged my thighs as if she saw her savior. John, are you here to save me? I know you have me in your heart, and you are worried about me. I stepped back in disgust and covered my nose. Where did this beggar come from? Get rid of him quickly. Then I asked the person next to me, what's wrong with that man? After listening to his explanation, I curled my lips and smiled, fire him, and tell the surrounding factories not to hire such people.